What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Week We Follow. We're here for our Fenerbahce review, which kicks off at 5:45 in Turkey tomorrow. We've got the wonderful Neil from the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. I love chatting to you, mate. I love the balanced view. I loved we spoke before, I've been on your show, and I thought, who can I get on to stop my head from spinning? One, because of all this transfer nonsense and all the stuff I've read, and how we can line up against Fenerbahce and potentially get a result in what is now a run of 3 games in 10 days, I think it is, for this depleted squad. So let's get into it. So yeah, tomorrow, Thursday, away trip to Turkey, tough hostile environment to go to. We've got, looking at it, they've won their last 4 games. We've wobbled a little bit in our last 4, obviously drawing and with Palace and beating and losing to Everton, at the weekend, which was, not what we all envisaged. And now we go into this game where I guess it's not a must-win game per se for where we are in the Europa League. I guess I'm just a little bit nervous in terms of how he's going to line up and what we do to try and get just don't lose the game, I guess. Is that the aim, do you reckon?
Yeah, yeah. Look, there's the big kind of want, and then there's the big need, I think, with the Europa League currently at the moment. And the big want is to finish in the top 2, and to get that home draw would be absolutely fantastic. It really would, based on our home form. But the need at the moment is to look after the squad until the end of the transfer window, until we know where we stand and we know who we're going to get in, if we get anybody in. And I think regardless of who we sign, there will be probably 50% of the fan base will love it, 50% of the fan base will have reservations about it, and that's fine. That's the beauty of being a football fan. That's the beauty of discourse. But I think this game specifically today, or on Thursday, should I say, it's one that, for the greater good of our season, I don't really think I care about it at all. There's too many subplots. Yeah. There's too many. It's going to one of the most hostile environments in all of world football. To go to play a football match in Istanbul is tough stuff. You might as well be playing it in this in Mordor. For any Lord of the Rings fans out there, you might as well be playing it there. It's going to be hostile. It's going to be a case of get in, get out, I think. And I think the club should take it that way, because we're qualified. We're qualified for the next stage anyway, regardless of what happens. We're just not qualified in the top 2. And I think, when you sit back and you look at the squad that we have currently, and we do need at least 2 bodies. I think we need 2 bodies in to be, because we will get players back from injury. We will have an Anna back from injury in Barkley, and we can talk about how long they're going to stay fit and all that. But we just, we have to cross our fingers and hope there. But we do need 2 players to supplement Malin and Boubacar Kamara, and hopefully we will see those in over the next 10 days before the end of the transfer window. But I think tomorrow is kind of one of get it out of the way with no injuries and come back and focus more on Newcastle at the weekend. Because for me, that's more important. It's more important to get Champions League football, and our best route to Champions League football currently, our most secure route to Champions League football, is to keep performing in the league. Yeah, and I don't like that, because I want silverware, but the pragmatism is my downfall at the best of times. Unai Emery is going to think the same, I would imagine, as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what the lineup will be tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place. So with that, I completely agree with that we need to focus on that tough away game at Newcastle. It's a tough week, really, and I'm just I guess I'm curious to know how Unai is going to approach it. What were your thoughts on his comments after the Everton game? Obviously lots of people have lost their minds over that, and kind of we're not contenders for the top 5. So talking about Champions League, qualification, and we are 7 points clear of Liverpool. I said before that Everton game, that should be the aim, right? We're in the top 3 with that gap. And that means teams around us have got to win 3 matches, and we've got to lose 3 matches. And before that Everton game, I was like, I don't see that happening. I feel like there's kind of there's a togetherness about this squad that are starting to believe that they're going to hit that qualification to the league position. And then I'm not saying the wheels have fallen off, but it was a very flat performance against Everton. And I don't know if Marlon leaving had an impact on that squad, just like when JJ left at the start of the season and we performed poorly, or is it just a case it was a one-off and we bounce back in these next two difficult away games?
Well, I'd be a very, very wealthy man if I knew the answer to that, because I would be, I would be able to leverage that information in other spheres as well. But no, I don't know. I will be honest. I think, look, I have to believe that selling a player that was only going to come off the bench for 25 minutes in Daniel Malin, selling him prior to the Everton game was not the ideal thing to do. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be one of these ones that's going to rock the squad, because you could argue that why didn't it rock the squad in the Champions League last year when he was purchased and then wasn't put in? I just don't think he's got enough roots down in the club for it to rock the squad like that, like JJ did. JJ, like, I'm sure it will come out in books what the situation was with JJ, but you know, there's a lot of conjecture around there that he didn't want to leave, and then that there was a case of, you know, that he basically was told that he had to leave, and I don't know what the story is there. You know, I've read a lot of conjecture on Twitter that I don't know what the situation is, but I could see that affecting it more. Malin was obviously loved. He scored a lot of goals. I would prefer if he was still with the club, but my view on it is he isn't. I think also as well, when we talk about the flat performance, I think that Morgan Rogers brings his shooting boots and we win that game probably 2-0. I don't even think we concede that goal. You know, so I think like the commentary after that game, not from Villa fans as such, but in the main sphere, was Everton were outstanding. Everton played Villa off the park when it just wasn't the case. It really wasn't the case at all. And Villa created the more chances. Villa couldn't score. We had some really poor shots that went like 10 foot over the bar. Everton got the slice of luck and they got their goal, albeit a good finish from Barry, but an issue from Pau Torres and then an issue with from Emre Martinez.
Yeah.
So the result is crap, absolutely. But you know, the context of the game could have been different. It wasn't different, but it could have been different, and we just have to see how they bounce back from it. I don't think tomorrow is the bounce back game. I certainly don't. But no. I think if you go to St. James's Park and you come out of there without losing, I think, and galvanize it, and then you know, attack that transfer market, make sure we get all these players in. I think that's it's very much backs against the wall at the moment for Newcastle as opposed to Fenerbahce.
Yeah, it's really interesting because actually, after the Everton game, I was kind of obviously frustrated with the result more than anything. But then I thought about it on the way home from the game, and I was kind of like, well, actually, if we look at our hot season as a whole, we have, you know, even in that 11-game winning streak, like there were only probably 2 games where we played, maybe 3, where we played really, really well, right, and got the result. With the other games, we kind of just ground them out. You know, that we were behind in 3 or 4 games and came back and had moments of quality from Morgan Rogers, from Emi Buendia, whoever stepped up to the plate and scored, you know, those wonder goals that we went through. And like you say, bar, you know, Rogers not having his shooting boots on, he had 2 great chances in the first half to score. And if that one of those goes in, then it's a very different game, right? So, like you said, although this isn't a bounce back game, I think let's not panic just yet. Because ultimately, that starting 11 that started against Everton was literally just Bogard for Kamara. And while Bogard isn't a direct replacement for Kamara, like, you know, I do like Bogard. I think there's a player there. I think Emery will, you know, was continue.
I don't know if I'm still live or if Gary has left or if I've left. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to continue to keep talking here just in case it is me on my own.
I'm just leaving Neil on his own to present
I thought it was my internet here. I was going, should I talk?
A massively apology. That was someone trying to call me at the most inappropriate time, and my phone's connected to my iPad that do this on. Yeah. So I'm just going to put Do Not Disturb on to make sure that doesn't happen again. Apologies for that little interruption. So yeah, what was I saying? In terms of the season where we've been and performed, I was kind of let's not panic with Bogard. If he can continue just to do a job, I thought the game before against Spurs he played really well with Tielemans. I thought, okay, so that could work going forward. And then for whatever reason, the big thing for me, and it's one thing losing Kamara, but to then lose McGinn, I think after in that first 20 minutes, apart from the start where they had that chance to hit the post, we got on top, and I thought, okay, we're going to be okay here. And then McGinn goes off, mate, and what that guy brings to our team is clear. It's that drive, that energy, that it galvanises the squad, really. I think it maintains the standard of levels. And then Gesson comes on, or I'm going to call him Guess Who, because I don't understand what this guy is supposed to be bringing to our team for £30 million. Do you know what I mean? He's I know he's playing slightly out of position on that right wing, but it just looked completely flat. He looks at times really lost. So going into this game on Thursday, I'm like, do we go with him again on that right-hand side? Is Sancho going to be well because he's ill again? Like, this guy's been ill, I think, 2 or 3 times. And that says to me that's more about his mentality than he's actually being ill. I don't know, but it's a really it's a slight concern. But at the same time, like I said, I was like, if we can manage that, whether Gesson or Sancho plays, the team isn't that disrupted. Yes, we're thin in terms of what we've got no option now to change it, but we've got those players, Tielemans, Rodgers, and hopefully I'm Watkins to step up to the plate, mate. Now, we know Emery's great at getting the best out of these players. He has done for 2 or 3 seasons. We've now got Leon Bailey coming back potentially, but if all rumours are to be believed. Now, I was so happy when he left because I thought his time was well and truly up at Villa. But Buendia had a resurgence. So could the same happen with Bailey? Could he come back and actually kind of make an impact? Do you know what I mean? And if he does, then it's suddenly not kind of as bad as it seems. And like you say, we've got 10 days left to get hopefully a couple of signings in to reinforce the Kamara situation, and maybe an attacking threat. And if that happens, I think it's okay. But I was just a little bit concerned about Unai Emery after the game because he wasn't his usual respectful self. He usually starts with that good evening and he's kind of like, thank you to the supporters. That's his go-to. He's obviously clearly frustrated with what's going on. And he's obviously never going to tell anybody how he truly feels. But, I know I was okay with the interview up until when the reporter said to him, why do you think this is in terms of drop off and stuff? And he just didn't answer. He just stonewalled her. He just literally and then walked off. And you go, okay. So it's one thing not believing we're not contenders for the title. I get that. But to say we're not contenders for the top 5 from the position that we're at, I guess publicly I want my managers just to go, look, we are where we are. We're doing well. And I don't know if is it a breakdown in communication with his
100% it is. There's the 2 things that you referenced there are, I wouldn't have answered the question about the drop-off either. And the reason I wouldn't have answered it is we've lost 2 games in our last 16 games and we've won 13 of those 16.
Absolutely.
I don't need to answer any questions about drop-off and performance. I don't. When I'm on that run of form, a historic run of form that Villa have not ever had in anybody. There's nobody alive at the moment that's seen Aston Villa with that form. So I wouldn't have answered that question either. I also think when he's talking about contenders, he's talking about teams that have more financial power that should be in those positions based on the amount of players that they have, the quality of players that they have and everything. So he's always said that. When we were trying to chase down Brighton for 7th place, he said we're not in the position to get 7th place. When we were trying to then get into Champions League, he said we're not in the position to get in Champions League, and we had a better squad then. When we were last year, when we were trying to chase down Tottenham, he said, look, we've it all to do. We're not the favourites to get that position. And this time he's saying exactly the same thing. I think a lot of it was blown out of proportion. Like, you had Stuart Pearce talking about it, saying, oh, Unai Emery's going to get fed up. There was another pundit as well that mentioned about Unai getting fed up as well. And I was going, I bet you could count on one finger how many interviews you've ever seen Unai Emery give. I genuinely and I was going to say, tell me how he responded the last time we lost, because so bloody long ago, you probably can't remember. I can't remember. So the whole, he didn't start with good evening, the over analysis, like for me, the clause within punditry and media in general around Aston Villa pooping the party for the third time in a row. The clause that are out is just crazy. Plus, also we do garner, like, all you have to do is look at the XG philosophy thing. All you need to do was write a post saying Aston Villa, and he would have 750,000 views on it within an hour. We stand up for our club. There's nothing wrong with it. We should continue to do it. We stand up for our club. But the whole industry knows that. And they know that they just have to put out a counter narrative to positivity, and boom, the clicks go, the listenership goes, the hate watching happens, and the responses happen. And I'm not saying stop that. I'm not saying that the fans should stop that. But it's an industry, and they get handsomely rewarded for all the clicks, views, watches, TAM ratings if it's on the radio, and so on and so forth. So I'm not telling anybody to stop doing it, but I'm saying that it's like, think of it this way. We lost 2 games in 16, winning 13 in a row. How much were people talking about us really winning the league? How much were people talking about our run? We would get a cursory glance. We were, and then before the Everton game, Villa could win the league. We were kind of going, no, we can't. And then they were going, no, you can win the league. No, we can't. You can win the league. We can't. We're not going to win the league, okay? No. Stop telling us you're going to win the league. We're not telling you we're going to win the league. We're saying that we can go within 4 points of Arsenal. What's happening? And then you lose, and then you go, look at you guys. You thought you were going to win the league. You're going, what the fuck? Excuse me for swearing. But that's the way it was. There was a massive level of industry-style gaslighting towards it, that, like, oh, we give Aston Villa their flowers all the time. No, you don't. You spend 4 hours a day talking about 6 other teams, you know? And then when Villa then lose to Everton, you spend an hour talking about how our manager is going to leave and probably go to Real Madrid or Manchester United. Like, that is not rational reporting. That is designed to, because we love our club so much, to clap back, and we should clap back. And they know it. They know that they can bait Spurs fans into ringing. They know they can bait Arsenal fans into ringing. United fans, Liverpool fans, they know they can bait Villa fans into reacting as well, because we should react because we're proud of our club. And when our club, like, to be honest, it's a nonsense argument. It really, really is.
It is, isn't it? I find it really fascinating, mate, because
he may leave. Sorry to cut you off. He may leave. He will leave at some stage.
Yeah, of course he will.
The whole thing, they've lost Everton. He's probably 1 foot out the door.
No, mate. I don't know if you've read this book, Rise of the Villains, right? But I think it's a great insult to where Emery's head is at with Villa, and I truly believe in my heart that it's not about just winning a trophy. I think it's about building a legacy. And I think it's about putting Villa in a position where we can compete on a yearly basis for Champions League places, if not the league. Obviously, there's lots of stuff that needs to happen before we can even get to that point, right? And he won't stay forever. I'd love him to. I think he's the best manager that I've seen in my lifetime. I know we can go back to the 82. I was only 3 when that happened, so I don't remember it. But from what I've seen as a Villa fan in my 40 years of supporting them, is that this guy is a world-class coach and a brilliant manager. And so let's see what happens. But like you say, it's all clickbait, all rage bait. And I've had lots of messages from Spurs fans and Arsenal fans and just trying to badge me to see, you're rubbish. It's not over. It's over. Emery's going to leave. He's going to go to Real Madrid. That was one of the things that came out when Alonso got sacked. And, it was, I don't see that happening until Emery's ready for it. And I think, like I say, I believe he's trying to build a legacy at Villa. I think he wants not one trophy. I think he wants many trophies. And we are probably one qualification for the Champions League away from the board just going absolutely spend crazy in the summer. I think that's going to happen. I think they're going to take whatever restrictions are going to probably be thrown at us, because it'll probably be a fine from UEFA rather than PSR from the Premier League. And I think that there's a chance that we could spend, if we get Champions League qualification. I think they're going to gamble. I do, to back him.
Just adding spending like drunken sailors part, I think we're 1 year away from that. I think if we were in the Champions League this year as opposed to the Europa League, and in the position we are to get Champions League again, all bets are off. I think you see a fucking space shuttle go to the moon. Sorry for swearing again. I think you do. I think you see that I the last of the season last year is having an impact on us currently at the moment. I think we're 1 year away. We're not fully out of the UEFA sanctions, and UEFA can ban us from making any transfers at all, and they can also ban us from European competition. So I think they'll box clever in the summer. I think there will be money to spend. If we get Champions League, there will be money to spend. It's not going to be as barren as it was last summer. I do think, obviously, as well, that we're going to see, and this is nothing to do with Fenerbahce. I know that we'll probably get on to talk about that in a moment. I do think we will see. I don't think Emi Martinez is going to be at the club next year. I don't think Tyrone Mings is going to be at the club next year. I don't think, like, you won't have Harvey Elliott or Sancho. The four of those guys together, you're probably talking the bones of about probably about $500,000 in wages per week back into your coffers. Probably more. I'd say Sancho is probably on $250,000 himself anyway. So maybe, look, if you're looking at it that way, that's a lot of money back in wages that we can set. And it's wages that are a problem at the moment. It's wages that are our SCR issue. And let's say you replace, if you go with Bizot next year, which I would be fine with, and bring in maybe a 23, 24, 25-year-old goalkeeper from the continent to fight it out with him again. Do something like Sunderland did. There are goalkeepers out there. Look at the FC Freiburg goalkeeper. Look at your man from Parma. Look at, there's good young goalkeepers out there that can be signed and will be signed for maybe about 20, 25, 30 million or something. I think Villa will do that. Then, what I'm saying is here, you're level setting. You're letting go of two older players in Mings and Martinez. And then you're replacing them with younger players, so you're refreshing the squad that way, but also you're bringing in less wages in. So I think there will be a bit of open heart surgery to some players. There will be some players that we don't want to leave. They will have sentimental value, but I think the core group of players will be protected. Maybe Watkins goes as well. Don't celebrate too hard when that happens, Gary. But maybe he goes too. But you know what I mean. There will be a refreshing of the squad in some way, shape, or form, I think. But whether we go out and start spending 70 million on three players, I don't think we can this year, but I think if we get Champions League this year, and let's say we get Champions League next year, all bets are off. I think Villa will be on a rocket ship then after that.
I think the keys, mate, is just in Unai Emery we trust, and as long as we keep our owners and Unai Emery, then I think we're in good hands. I think, building towards that, I think it's coming. I think it must be exhausting being Unai Emery, kind of, with all the even though I assume he just mellows it out, but like you say, because of all that clickbait stuff and the questions he gets asked in press conferences, he must be like, oh, for fuck's sake, I can't be asked for this.
Like Unai Emery doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to sit down with his cup of coffee in the morning, pull out his phone and start scrolling through Twitter. And when he gets asked questions by the media, he knows this is just going to go up as a piece on Twitter. I'm so over this. It's not my style. It's not my thing. I don't want to play this game. And to be honest with you, I actually think if I was him, and maybe he is doing this. No, so I don't think it, but maybe he is doing this. Maybe the whole Pigeon English thing at times, maybe that's a reason for plausible deniability to be able to put stuff in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The reverse Steve McLaren. The reverse Steve McLaren is what he's done. I think there. So,
that's a great analogy. Right, let's bring it back to Fenerbahce then. Right?
Yes,
so I look, this is I digress, but look, this is a tough fixture away. I agree with what you said earlier about let's just get in, get out. If we can get something from the game, I'd take not to lose. I think it's going to be a tough one. By the way, villains, if you are travelling to Fenerbahce, please be safe, because it sounds like it's going to be horrendous from what I've read on the website. Being kept in a pen 5 hours before kickoff, all that kind of nonsense. Just stay safe, not allowing battery packs to charge your phones. Like, it's talk about isolating you in the middle of nowhere with, the Turkish authorities. I'm glad I'm not going, if I'm honest, and I'm watching it from the TV. So just stay safe, villains, and let us know if you have any issues.
It's like that's the great thing about going to Turkey as well. At the same time, is that this isn't their first rodeo. They're in Europe every single year. They make the environment hostile on purpose. Yep. It's not look. It's arduous, but it's not like it's something you won't be used to. But it's something that they're used to, and they've kind of like they're keeping. It's look. Remember when Leeds fans went over there prior, and then there was a Leeds fan who didn't come home.
Yes, I remember that, mate.
Better be safe than be sorry in that instance. And while that was a long time ago, it was like back in the late 90s or early 2000s. The police have kind of said, right, our duty of care is to do away fans. We're going to keep them in here. Our duty of care is also to the home fans. We're just going to keep people segregated, and everyone will go and enjoy the game, which is the reason that they're here. And I can completely see that. I can completely see the rationale for it. Because it isn't very often that you go to a game and somebody gets stabbed and doesn't come home, and that happened to that Leeds fan. And I know it was in Galatasaray, and I know it was a Galatasaray game and whatever, but Turkish fans are passionate. They're nothing like that would happen, I don't think, in this game. But the police aren't going to take the chance.
Yeah, well, like I say, hopefully everyone comes home safe, mate. And like I say, everyone should be attending games of football without crazy stuff like that happening. Like you say, it doesn't happen very often. So just stay safe, villains. Enjoy the game when you're there. And let us know if you do have any issues in the comments. I mean to know. So, Neil, I've got a bit of a thing to go through, right? I've put this squad together, and I'm just trying to think outside the box of how we approach the game, right? With just something a little bit different. And this is more or less the team that started on Sunday against Everton, bar kind of replacing if he's well, Sancho for McGinn on that right hand side. But I'm looking at that pivot position, right? And I've thought this for a while, and I might be crazy, and people might actually rip me apart in the comments for this, and that's fine, please do. But this is just my opinion. In pushing Pau Torres slightly forward in that kind of Boubacar Kamara role, because I think he's such a great technician on the ball. You know, defensively solid when the player's in front of him. He lacks pace for me. So, and Lindelof is also lacking pace. But unless I can't see him putting Tyrone Mings straight back in. I know he's been on the bench last couple of games. He may well do that. But so I just think with Pau's ball playing ability, and with Yuri alongside him guiding him, he could be quite a useful weapon in that holding midfield to stop any threat, i.e. Asensio and Duran from hitting the headlines and celebrating in front of the Villa fans, probably. What are your thoughts on that, looking at that squad?
He's never playing central defensive midfield.
No.
I don't think. No, he's just not. But I do think that there's a possibility you could see Lindelof there, because Unai Emery has put him in there before. I don't think he'll start him there. I think it's going to be Bogard. I think he likes Bogard. I think he does. The annoying thing for me with the 11 that you have up here is that there isn't really many people we can swap out for other players here. Like you look at the academy team that played in the FA Youth Cup last night. I would imagine, Bradley Burrows played and that scored 2 goals from that mistake.
Yeah.
Like he's somebody I would have thought potentially could have travelled to Istanbul. He's not going to be there. Now, we still don't see Brian Maggio there. We don't see Allison there. I don't know what the story is with those guys with regards to their registration. I think Brian Maggio's registration will become more clear after the transfer window, because I think that there is some sort of accounting wizardry that they could do, that if they get their striker in, they register him as an academy player, that 10 million stays on the academy's books, therefore doesn't get filtered into PSR and SCR. If they don't, then they bring him up into the senior squad, and then that 10 million gets assimilated in there as well. Allison will be a senior player, I think. I'm really interested to see if he makes the bench tomorrow even, and we see some time from him. But
that would be amazing.
That it would be good just for another body, I think, as well. Like my expectations on him are tempered, I suppose, just because of, I'm not expecting him to come in and be Neymar. But I would love if he could come in and be come in and be, a very diligent defender on that right hand side, and use his pace to get us out of trouble. Maybe like a Leon Bailey, and Leon Bailey will be back in the squad as well tomorrow. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Will he be registered for UEFA as he got in the list change? I presume we'll find that out tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him start, Leon Bailey, just because I don't think there's any reacclimatization needed for him. I think you just throw him in because he knows exactly what Emery wants. He's only been gone 4 months. You know, he's been injured for 4 months at times, I would imagine. He's come back and he's played. Throw him in there. Use this as a fitness exercise for him, and I would definitely fire him in that right hand side and not think twice about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you say, it's a free hit almost, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it absolutely is. You're playing away from home in an inhospitable environment, and you're already qualified for the next round. So yeah, I think you go and you take as many. Like you go there and you see what you can get. There's too many subplots. This game is the game that I really don't care about, because there's too many subplots that will draw people's attention away from football. And I think that if this is at home in Villa Park, I'd be much more interested in it. It's one of those games that is. It's not a dead rubber, but it's one of those games that could hinder us more than help us, in the Europa League. It could hinder us in the league more than helps us in the Europa League if we go balls to the wall with regards to it. So we'll see. But regards to your Pau Torres and your Lindelof, look, I'm not averse to Pau Torres playing in that position. I'm not averse to Lindelof playing there. I would think that he wants to get a look at George Hemmings. I would think that he wants to get a look at Bogart. And I think that will be the rotational pack for those two players in this game.
To be fair to Hemmings, when he came on for Bogart, I thought he looked pretty sharp. I was quite impressed with how he got around the pitch. I was like, okay.
Carried the ball as well a couple of times.
Yeah, he injected a little bit of energy into us when he came on for Bogart. I was like, oh wow, I haven't really seen enough of Hemmings to have an honest opinion on him to see if he's got the minerals to step up and be that replacement for Boubacar Kamara. Maybe in terms of looking at transfers, if Emery was to trust him, maybe he's going to go, well, Bogart is now going to be that man that I trust because, like you said, he seems to like him, and use Hemmings as a backup. That could happen, right? In terms of we've only got 2 weeks in terms of what business we can do because of the restrictions. So it's going to be interesting to see. So
George Hemmings, when I see him play, when you look at his face, he reminds me of Jermaine Jenas. Jermaine Jenas. And do you know what? I'd be bloody delighted if we got prime Jermaine Jenas out of George Hemmings prior to his move to Aston Villa. I would be bloody delighted because Jermaine Jenas was a good player.
Well, look, I'd like to think the only thing that concerns me about Unai Emery, and it's something that's bothered me.
Head off him. I'm looking. I just pulled up 2 pictures of the two of them there. He's absolutely the head off him.
I wouldn't, because Unai Emery doesn't play the youth players. Like we've bought, like you mentioned, Brian Maggio and Alisson in, and if we look at Marlon's transfer when he first come in, like he doesn't genuinely bed new signings in straight away, does he?
No.
So I'm like, and we need people now, right? So spending £25 million on Maggio and Alisson, while that's great for the future, we're talking about SCR spend and stuff. That's 25. You mentioned about Brian Maggio potentially. I like that idea as a academy player. That makes sense with that one. So you've only got the Alisson if that was to happen. But still, that's kind of, does that mean that these guys, we're not going to see a lot of these guys this year? In a year that we're so short on bodies?
Well, I think the options are there. I think that the club, like the Brian Maggio signing on every level, I think is smart. And what we've got to remember as well, SCR, PSR, there's amortization and stuff like that. Stuff the accountants will come up with that I certainly do not understand. I don't understand legalese. I don't understand the accounting side of things. I'm openly and honest about saying that I took the UEFA sanction document that UEFA gave us. I put that into Gemini. I asked it to summarize it for me because there's terminology in there that I don't understand and that I get overly fixated on with regards to not understanding it. I don't understand the football accounting of football, and I don't know what way the registrations work. So I think the Maggio signing, look, I think with the Alisson signing, realistically, you're talking about low wages again, which I think is key in a lot of these signings. Get these young players in on the lower wages before you pay them big wages. So it's 2 million plus wages, whatever his wages are going to be over the course of the year. That's what your amortization is. Let's say his wages are 25. Let's say he's on 25. Let's say he's on 30 grand a week. What's that? That's 1.5 million. So he's costing us 3.5 million towards our SCR. I think you can assimilate that into your SCR easily. Over the course, and that's over the course of 12 months. We're actually only signing him, so six months. So divide that by 2. So you're talking about 1.5 million, or 1.75. So that's all easily assimilated in there. So we look at the overall transfer value of going 10 million spent. Jesus, why are we doing spending 10 million? And you go, well, wait a minute. Actually, it only breaks down to about 1.25 or 1.75 or whatever it is. And I don't fully understand that this is rudimentary calculations I'm doing. But when you look at a Tammy Abraham, or when you look at the relief that Daniel Malin gives us by getting that 25 million in straight away or deferred to the summer, but more so getting 140 grand a week off the books,
it's massive,
gives us that wriggle room. That gives us that wriggle room then to sign a player. Let's just say, and I'll sorry enough for going on a tangent with regards to this, but Tammy Abraham, there was 2 newspapers articles I read saying Tammy Abraham is looking for 4 million a year. And that sounds like a huge number. You go, 4 million a year, he's going to earn 4 million a year. He's not that good footballer. When you distill it down, it's about 120, 130 grand a year. And we're paying Malin 140. So,
you're saving it. It works out, doesn't it?
It is. It's funny money, fake money kind of situations that projected into the future. Like, it really is. Money, like money in your hand is one thing, but money on an account sheet can be manipulated in 55,000 different ways. And that's like I called on my podcast last night. I did a State of the Villa address thing, just try and get my head straight about what I was feeling, because there was a lot that was going on. And sometimes I start talking and I'm just kind of shooting what's coming into my brain. I'm not trying to convince anybody. But what I said is, I would not be averse to Aston Villa going into the NFL and hiring one of the NFL's best cap managers and imposing a cap management structure on ourselves that will allow us to stay within SCR and let them figure out the loopholes with regards to contractual obligations within UEFA structure and work with that. I know Damien probably does that currently at the moment, but he's also doing 55 different other things as well. I think that, I think the smart money is to have somebody, if you've got somebody who's just doing scouting, somebody who's just doing transfers and negotiating the transfer deals, why not have somebody just doing the accountancy for contracts and wages and deferring payments? And can we bring in things like the American sports do with void years, whereby they're not playing for us anymore, but yes, we're still paying them into the future, so you can spread the cost of the contract out over a length of time. I don't know what the terminology is. I presume that's a no-go, considering UEFA have brought in the 5-year rule. But what loopholes are out there?
There's bound to be some, right? There's bound. Mate, I'd never even thought of it like that, if I'm honest. You mentioned that is that would be really interesting to see if anyone has thought about that in the Premier League, or if it's just been kibosh, because for whatever reason, or if they are thinking about doing that to kind of, because it makes, you saying that out loud just makes sense in my head. Do you know what I mean? In terms of that would make it. I
think the biggest barrier to it, Gary, is the fact that agents are going to look at you like you got 10 heads.
Yeah.
And you're going in like agents are going to look at you and go, "Oh Christ, what's he putting down here?" Agents don't understand the financial side of things. They're there to get the best deal for their.
They're working in the moment, aren't they? They're trying to get as much money as quickly as possible.
Exactly, and it's not industry standard. And if you defer payments into the future and all that kind of stuff, does the agent's payment then get lessened and so on and stuff? So there is the vulture nature of all that kind of stuff as well, that I certainly don't know how to pile about. But I wonder, is it something that's viable? Because there has to be a way that Aston Villa can manipulate the playing field to suit themselves in the short term while we do grow our revenues. And because other teams have found ways around it, like who would have thought that? Who would have thought that John Paul Bosman was going to do what he did and change the whole lot of football? Maybe, like, I imagine agents were looking at him with two heads when he did that.
Yeah.
Maybe we come up with something. Maybe there's an Unai rule that comes in somewhere along the line.
Mate, I'd love it. I completely agree. I think we've got to think outside the box, and hopefully, like I say, I trust in our owners, and with the knowledge that they've got from an American side sports, but that what you've just said makes complete sense in my hehead. So, like I say, I think they're constantly working towards something. Let's see what happens in the future, mate. I've been excited about the Villa project for so long, right? I think we're so close to something like truly great. And like you said earlier, if we could just get through this season, qualify for the Champions League, being in around the same sort of position that we are now next season, where we can get to that point where we can go stratoscopic through with a rocket. That's what I want to see. I've been waiting for it for 40 years. I want us to see us be competing. I want to see us break that big six. That's my dream. Just a couple more things before we go, mate. I just wanted to get because bring it back to Fenerbahce, and I'd kick myself if I didn't ask you about these two players, obviously. Asensio and Duran. Obviously, for a long period of time, we thought Duran was going to be suspended. It looks like that's not going to be the case now. I've seen different things kind of parried around, but the last thing I read yesterday was that his ban's been restricted and that he can play. So, what are your thoughts on these two players? I know the game, as we've said, is kind of a free hit sort of thing, but are they going to come back and haunt us? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't understand the rescinding. I haven't looked at it. Don't get me wrong. I haven't taken out anything from that hearing and tried to look at it. But when you headbutt someone, it should be a pretty clear ban. It's pretty clear what the situation is. But look, that's not the case. I have very little. Like John Duran made his bed, and he's going to sleep in it. And he made his. And I'm like, for me, John Duran's a non-entity. It's not like. Put it this way, I could understand why fans were going down to the front of the field and getting Jack Grealish to sign their jerseys.
Yes.
But I would be like, no, I'm not having that. If somebody was doing that with John Duran, because he didn't show us any respect when he was with the club. He was kind of like there was times he wanted to go to West Ham, he wanted to go to Chelsea, he wanted to go. He was courting Roman Abramovich, all this kind of stuff as well. So like there was times he was hard to manage from a maturity standpoint. And Aston Villa did well by him. They raised his profile, and we got well out of the cash we got for him. I'm not.
Absolutely.
I don't care if he scores a hat trick tomorrow. Like it's not going to make me feel any better or any worse about him. He's not an Aston Villa player. Like if we're playing again tomorrow and he doesn't even start and El Nesri plays and scores a hat trick against us, and we were linked with El Nesri a week ago, I'm not going to feel bad that we didn't sign El Nesri. I'm going to feel bad that we can see the 3 goals regardless who scores it. Now, Marco Asensio is a different kettle of fish, because I think we wanted Asensio. I think we could have got him. Yeah. I think that maybe there's, and this is my tinfoil hat time, and I have no proof of this whatsoever. I think Monchi is no longer in the position he's in with Aston Villa because of the fallout of Sancho and Elliott over Asensio. I think he wanted Asensio. I think Unai wanted Asensio. I think there was a discussion around it that brought in these guys. Well, let's bring in 2 players as opposed to bringing in 1 player. Those 2 players have failed, and Asensio was good for us last year. And I think that is a huge point. I think I think there has to be something in that. I think there has to be.
Oh, like mate, I gotta say, I've got no proof of it, but that for me, just I think it speaks massive volumes. I think it shows like the fallout. And you think about that with the money that we spent on Sancho, and arguing with not paying JJ more money, not affording the Asensio's wages, and like you say, because Sancho and Elliott haven't worked out, and then Monchi now goes. It doesn't. You just read between the lines, right? You go, there's something there about that doesn't quite fit right. So I'm with the Duran situation. When he left, I was gutted, because I just thought there was a player there, and I think Unai knew there was a player there, but because of his clearly being slightly mentally unstable, I think it was best for everybody that with the money that we were offered that he went, and that was fine. Happy with that. I understood that, but people have obviously said. Had lots of discussions since he left and during the season about how we should have sold Watkins. But then I look at what Duran's done this season, and he's only scored like 5 goals in all competitions, I think, for Fenerbahce. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments.
Remember at the start of the year, like Fenerbahce have been through the ringer as well. They had Jose Mourinho there at the start of the year, if I'm not mistaken, as well. And like Duran went on strike in Saudi. Started claiming mental health issues and stuff like that. And that's fine if he did have them. Living in Saudi is a difficult thing to do for a 19, 20, 21-year-old. And apparently he was living like 2 miles, a 2-hour drive away from where they were. Like there was all these stories about him. He didn't want to live near where the team was. He wanted to live 2 hours away, all that kind of stuff. And he got out of there and he went to Fenerbahce. I think the last manager you want to put John Duran with is Jose Mourinho, because literally it's literally like smoking in a fireworks factory. That one would be, and it's for me. I don't know what way he was played at the start of the season under Mourinho, but obviously they've got Tedesco in now. Yeah. Remember as well, Fenerbahce said Fenerbahce had restrictions on him internally as well. They internally suspended him. So I don't know whether he starts tomorrow. I actually would be surprised if he starts tomorrow. I would be surprised if he starts.
He didn't. Yes, like you say, the other players are in form. I'd be amazed if he starts. I just don't want him to score against us, because I know he's going to end up running the length of the pitch and doing like an Adebayor and celebrating in front of the Villa fans, which will just probably wind me up a little bit. But it's a shame, really, because he's obviously been misguided. And like you say, when he went to Fenerbahce, I think the first thing I read was that he didn't turn up for his first training session, and Mourinho was absolutely fuming. But then Mourinho left like a month or so later, I think it was, for whatever reason. And, my concern is around Asensio. Mate, I was gutted we didn't get Asensio. I think he's probably one of the best players I've seen in the Villa shirt in my time as a Villa fan. And I know that he started really well for us and went off the ball a little bit. Maybe that's just kind of, a little bit. Emery said that he wasn't quite 100% match fit, and a fully fit Asensio was, someone that would walk into our starting 11. And he scored 9 goals this season, 8 goals in league goals in 14 games for Fenerbahce, I believe, which is not a bad return, for a number 10 and something we are could have been crying out for this season. So I hope that it's not Asensio that comes back and bites us in the bum after missing that glorious chance against PSG last year that could have put us through. But like you say, this could have been a very different game if it was at Villa Park. The fact that it is in Turkey, I'm with you, and what you said at the start of the show was that the Newcastle game is 10 times more important. You know, we've got such a poor record up at St James's Park that I think if we can maybe, you know, get something done by Sunday to just to bolster the squad a little bit, to even if it's a case of getting someone on the bench, so we know that we're going there with some sort of reinforcement. Do you know what I mean? Rather than the bare bones, because Newcastle will be licking their lips, I would have thought. But
I think Villa might hire, if Villa are hiring a private plane. Villa are bringing, including backroom staff, 32 people. They'll bring a 33-seater plane.
Oh,
I think they might bring a man back from Istanbul as well. Yeah.
Well,
might bring a 6'4" Englishman back from Istanbul too. Who knows? Just makes sense. Like we're out there. Let's do the deal. Let's bring him back. A carbon neutral signing. We were out there anyway. He doesn't cost any more in carbon credits to bring him back. fly him over as well. So
there we go. You can't say Villa aren't environmentally friendly, mate. Thinking about their carbon footprint. That's that. I love that. Right, Neil, mate. Thank you so much. I'm going to end there. Just one last thing. Just a score prediction, mate. What are you saying tomorrow night? What do you think? What you're hoping for?
I'm hoping for 1-1. I'm probably expecting a 2-1 for Fenerbahce. The reason being is because I'm hoping he completely changes as much as he possibly can. Like, I don't want to go out there and play our first 11 and risk injuries in this one tomorrow. No, you get in training. I know that, and that is a very, very valid argument. But I think that, you know, like an injury to Yuri Tielemans, like we're talking about McGinn and Kamara and stuff like that, an injury to Yuri Tielemans, then we're talking about 3 big injuries that would derail our season, you know.
Yeah, we can't afford it, can we?
And at that stage, then guess what? I started talking about list days and stuff like that in accountancy. Then we're into the real kind of weeds of insurance policies, taking people's wages off at list days. How much does that, like, I know nobody wants to get involved in that. I certainly don't. I certainly won't understand it. But like when we're looking at, well, the club can't afford to do this, and the club can afford to do this, and how come the club are doing this? There's all these substructures of contractual elements that we will just never be privy to. And this is why I want the NFL kingpin to come in and run everything like that and go, right, Kamara's out. Okay, this means we can put this back on our insurance claim. That insurance claim will come through in March. That's going to be fine because we don't have to submit our accounts until this time. Blah, blah, you know. And I'm sure there is somebody doing that, but maybe they're doing it with 15 other jobs. I want just to
focus on that very thing. Mate, who knows? Maybe Unai will see this and go, you know what? Neil's onto a good thing there. Well, let's make this happen. We can but dream. Because
they can gladly take Andrew Berry from my beloved Cleveland Browns anyway. He's excellent at that, but he's not too great at anything else. He's brilliant at cap management, but he's not too great at everything else. So.
Well, let's see that happens. Well, I'm going to go boring 0-0, mate. I think just go away, frustrate them. Don't kind of do anything. I would argue, like you said there with Tielemans, I wouldn't play Tielemans. I'd arguably look at probably playing Bogard and Lindelof, right? Just kind of in that holding role, and see if we can get through the game. You know, because as much as this is a difficult away fixture, I still believe that there's enough quality in our squad, like to go and frustrate a Turkish team. I know that Fenerbahce are flying, they're second in the league, etc. But still, the standard of football in Turkey is not of the highest calibre from what I've seen. Right? They've got 1 or 2 teams like most leagues around the world have. You know, look how competitive the Premier League is this season. We have tough games every week. I think there's enough there. And if we can just get through it.
I mean to say, you know, you look at the quality of their squad, they should absolutely be second in that league. In comparison to the quality of other squads. Absolutely. Like, and even when you look at Galatasaray's squad as well, Galatasaray are a Victor Osimhen injury away from losing the league, you know?
Yeah.
They've got some good players. They've got Sané, they've got Gundogan, they've got a player I really like actually, was with Arsenal, Lucas Torreira. They've got some good players there, but like they're by far and away the 2 best teams in that league, by far and away.
Yeah. You know, it's first versus second, right? So I'm trying to take little snippets of kind of, let's not get carried away. Like you say, we've already qualified. There's no real pressure on us to go there and try and get a result. You know, we've got Salzburg at home next week, which is probably the one there that we have to win, and hopefully this time next week, like, because as we learn and as you see, a week in football, a lot can happen. Do you know what I mean? Like, from that Spurs game, winning the FA Cup, absolutely buzzing, to feeling that, you know, apart from the Kamara injury, you know, when Marlon leaves and, you know, now you've got the speculation going, it's a whirlwind. So I'm just going to say that in Unai I trust. Let's get a bit of business done, mate, in the next 10 days. And hopefully that on the 29th, that will, a week from today, or a week from tomorrow, will look very different as a squad and an entity, and back on track, hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there we go. Well, Neil, thank you so much for coming on, mate. Honestly, I really appreciate it. Like, generally, guys, go and follow Neil, and if you already don't, I'm sure you already do. Wise man, wise words. Love chatting to you, mate. I think that brain of yours is fascinating, and kind of, I love the knowledge. It's kind of it's
undiagnosed, Gary. My brain is undiagnosed. Whatever the hell is going on with it. Yeah.
Which is what we, mate, here on Every Week We Follow, we are neurodivergent, mate. Everybody's welcome. Guys, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you can. We'll be back tomorrow for the Fenerbahce watch-along. There'll be me, hopefully James, but he's got a little bit of a chest infection. But we'll have Sam from True Adventures. He's coming to join us for the watch-along tomorrow. We'll pick it apart live. Hopefully it won't be a boring 0-0 when Villa will win 8-0 because we'll just turn up. I don't know. Highly unlikely, but it'll be entertaining anyway. And if it doesn't, we'll get Sam to sing a song. He's got a great voice. So there'll be some sort of entertainment there. And as always, I'm going to sing us out. Every week we follow the boys in claret and blue. Peace. Cheers, people.